All right, Dustin. Always great to chop it up with a fellow Canadian. You are, of course, fresh off a very big win over Hugo Cunha at One Bad Blood a few weeks back. Had a little bit of time to digest that win now. In hindsight, how are you feeling about the performance?
I mean, to get a win in a company like one is amazing. But like I was saying, like there's always things you look back and you feel like you could have done better. But it's better not to dwell on that kind of thing, right? I'll just kind of move forward and make improvements and see what I could have, try to fix those things. We all got holes, right? And but
Mhm.
also a lot of what I did, you know, I was trying to strike him from the outside. I know he's a good grappler, he's a good jiu-jitsu guy, but I don't want to overwhelm him too. So a lot of strategy came within that where it was like I hit a few strikes, I get him to cover up, but at no point did I ever want to overwhelm him. If I'm striking too much and he gets overwhelmed, he's gonna feel like he needs to rush at me and do something. So then he might try to grab me or something like that. So I'm trying to punch him up a good just enough to where he feels like and then I stop for a second to where he can relax and breathe, and then I'll just keep doing it again and doing it again. And that's why you can see in that third round, he didn't actually do anything because I was able to keep the pressure on him, but not too much pressure to where he felt like he had to, try and take me out. But
It was a very smart performance that you put forth in that one, and of course it helped you bounce back from that loss you had to Kirill in your one championship debut. In your post fight interview, when you were talking to Andrew Whitelaw in the media on the media conference call afterwards, you talked about how getting that win sort of helped you justify your position in one championship, sort of prove to you that
mm,
you belong. Can you sort of expand on that and how it validated your position on this roster?
I don't know. I've always felt like starting off, I come from a small town, I come from a small gym. I don't have all these high level UFC fighters or like the guys to train with, right? So I've always been a little underconfident when it comes to fighting like the bigger leagues, right? Because I'm never sure if what I'm doing with the guys in my gym who are relatively unknown to anybody, right? So it's hard to feel like I'm at that level with them, training with people that are unknown. But the people that are coming from big gyms that are training with all these top superstars in MMA, they always feel super confident because they train with Ngannou and they train with like Cyril and whatever. They train with all these guys, but like I'm not training with anybody, so not to that caliber. My biggest thing is I feel that skills transfer equally the same, have an open mind and try to learn all the skills. And for me, like I have a lot of heart. So when it comes to fighting, I just try to put it out there. But I definitely feel like I have a lot more confidence now going forward. And actually, that loss to Kirill, I don't know, that kind of did something. Like my first fight and one, I was so nervous in the back and going into the fight. Maybe it's because I was undefeated at the time. Who knows? But going into this one, if you watch my entrance compared to my debut entrance, it was night and day. My energy, I was fired up. There was no nerves. I was ready to just try and I was ready to win. And I kind of feel like I can keep that mindset moving forward and do well.
Cool, man. That's something I've always been sort of interested in, the mindset of an undefeated fighter. I mean, do you feel like there was sort of a lot of pressure on you that you maybe weren't even realizing was there until you finally lost that zero?
I kind of felt like there was a lot of pressure on me and everyone's talking me up. But like I said, like everyone's talking me up like I'm something amazing. But to me, like I never felt like I was. So there was a lot of nerves there. Like, am I am I gonna be able to back this up? Whatever. But going into this fight, having lost and being the underdog, it's like it was all out the window. Like I don't care what they think of me. Like I'm just gonna go in there and fight and do my best. Like the more I can keep these guys, it seems like everyone in one seems to be a wrestler. If I can keep them off me and keep getting up, there's no way they're going to touch me. I'll keep out striking them.
Speaking of world class fighters and whatnot and wrestlers and the like, Anatoly Malakin and Kirill Grashenko got to it shortly after you did on that card. Did you get a chance to watch that fight yet? And if so, what did you think of the
Yeah,
action?
I did. I mean, I was really surprised in how Kirill fought that. He honestly looked so different from when he fought me. I think when he fought me, me being just a striker and not having that wrestling background, he felt super confident going in there, like he was just going to take me down and do whatever. And in the first round, he did, but it was the end of the second, third when I started. I think I broke him a bit, and watching him go against Anatoly in this fight, um, Anatoly having a wrestling background as well. He didn't have that same confidence. He kind of seemed like he was scared fighting, like he was running away the whole time and like wouldn't engage and kept putting his chin out there to get knocked out. And like I felt bad for him. I was really hoping he'd win. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, like he just looked way different fighting him than he fought me or even that Rubru guy or whatever.
Mhm. That was a weird fight.
Yeah.
Anatoly is now the interim champion, of course, and he's had just 3 fights and 1 championship. Does that
Mm.
kind of give you confidence that now that you can win fights and one yourself, the title shot may not be all that far away if you can string together a couple of wins?
Yeah, I mean, winning a title is the ultimate goal, right? But we're also fighters, right? This is kind of our career. We're there to get paid as well. Um, so I also want to make sure I'm taking the right fights. And say I fight for the belt and win, I'd be the lowest paid heavyweight champion in the world. Like it's just crazy. So I also want to make sure I take the right steps in building my career to get there. But at the same time, if they ask you like, "Hey, do you want to fight for the belt?" You can't say no to that. Like it's a once in a lifetime type of shot. No one gets that opportunity. So how do you say no?
Fair enough. Let's talk about the champion. He's a man you know well, Arjan Bhullar. You guys are both from the west coast of Canada. I know it's a tight knit scene out there, and you guys have spent some time kind of in each other's orbits. Can you run me through your encounters with Arjun in the past?
I don't have a lot of encounters, just like I did spend a week and a bit training with him. He paid me once when he was first starting in the UFC to come train with him for one of his fights. And I thought it would be like another heavyweight guy trying to make friends. Like if I'm bringing over guys, I'm super friendly. I end up being friends with them. But with him, it was so different. Like, he messages me, come over. I'm thinking this is a great opportunity to train with someone, another heavyweight in the city and like another whatever. And I get there, he's really cold, doesn't say anything. He's like, you can just go over there and warm up like I'm in his gym. I get into the cage. We're like gonna do some sparring. His coach is like, okay, you're on this side, RJ, you're on the side. And he walks to the middle. He's like, you put in the work. Now it's time. 3 rounds in the heavyweight division. Are you ready? And I'm like looking at myself. I'm like, what the hell is going on right now? Like, he's got his entourage against the cage, and he comes out trying to kill me, man.
Wow.
And so, I put up a good fight. I think I beat the hell out of him pretty good striking. He got me down once, but couldn't keep me down. And then the rest of the rounds, he couldn't keep me down at all. And then the third time, later on in the week, we sparred again, and it was more of the same. He didn't get me down. I really was gonna hurt him that time. The first time I didn't know what to expect. I was, I'm just doing some sparring. I'm never trying to knock out my training partners in sparring, but the
Mhm.
second time I was like, I'm gonna hurt him. And he definitely ran away from me in those rounds. And then third round, whatever, he just pushed me against the cage and tried to hold. And when you got giant boxing gloves on, it's really hard to get underhooks to get out of the cage, especially with him. But it was a terrible experience. And even like afterwards, his coach was like, "Oh, like can you do some grappling with him?" And I was like, "Okay." And his coach was like, "Okay, go on your back and let Arjun get on top." I'm like, "Well, if this fight camps for Arjun, like shouldn't he be the one going on his back and being put in the worst case scenario?" And his coach was like, "That would never happen."
Wow.
I was like,
That's
"Really?"
I've sort of gotten the sense that maybe you're not the hugest fan of him personally. What's the state of your relationship with him? Like, I mean, what would happen if you two were in a room together tonight?
Oh, nothing. I'm
Yeah. I mean, I
I'm
don't expect you to start fighting or anything, but would
yeah,
you
yeah.
be friendly?
No, no, like I would be friendly. I would always be friendly. I'm always polite and respectable, whatever. But like that doesn't change how I feel about him.
Cool, cool.
He's not someone I would ever hang out with.
Fair enough. He's not on your list of guys to get a beer with or anything like that after a
No.
win. Cool. Well, the heavyweight title will certainly be tied up for a little while because Arjun, of course, is going to fight Anatoly Malkin. So who would you like to fight next? Is there anyone on your radar?
I don't know. I mean, I think I think fighting Brandon Vera would be a cool name. Like I think he's a big name, and like I think the fight would be a big draw, and it would be like I've been watching him since early days in the UFC, so it'd be kind of an unreal experience for me. As far as everyone else, like I don't really know it. A lot of the people, I don't follow a lot of MMA and like the heavyweight scene in one, or even the UFC for that matter. Like I don't really watch it too much. I do like to fight it, but that's as far as it goes. But I mean, back in the day, I used to watch UFC a lot and MMA in general, like Pride, all that. So the older stars kind of stick out to me now more than anything because I still remember them.
Right. I mean, I remember growing up watching Brandon Vera too. He's a legend. He's been around forever. If one came to you though and offered you, I assume a guy you haven't heard of before, would you take it?
I haven't said no yet.
Cool, man. Cool.
They've offered me so many different fighters, and I've said yes to all of them. And the only reason a lot of the fighters, backed out for injury reasons or the card, I don't know. But I've been offered like five different names. I've said yes to everyone, and then for some reason or another, it didn't happen.
How did you end up with one championship? You may have spoken about this in other interviews, but Victoria and Singapore are a long way apart. So I mean, how did you
Yeah,
connect with these guys?
I don't know. I fought in CFFC against Carl Sumadatov or whatever. I think that's how you pronounce it. Maybe not. I won the fight, and I'd already been in talks with UFC because of the Contender Series fight, but they were saying they wanted to see me fight again outside. So I did that fight and I won. And then they're like, "Oh, you beat him, but we would have liked to have seen you knock him out." And then if you look at this guy's resume of people he's lost to, like nobody's knocking this guy out. He's just a giant Samoan with a massive head. Like he takes a beating.
Hmm.
So I'm like, well, that sucks. But so we are kind of in the talks with the UFC and kind of in the talks with Bellator. And then my manager just said, like, how do you feel about one championship and fighting overseas? And I'm like, that sounds great. Like, I mean, I know what it is and I follow it. I know they're a big company, right? So I was excited, but
Hmm.
I will tell you one thing, those flights are brutal, and I can't wait till they get some things going in North America.
What are you hoping to accomplish this year before the year's out?
Again, MMA standings?
Anything, man. I mean, what are the goals for this year,
Let's see.
inside the cage and outside?
I don't know. I'd like to go to the Philippines. I got family there, and I'd also like to get back to Hungary. I'm waiting for this pandemic to be over so I can travel and see family again. It's been really tough not seeing any of them for the last few years, and that's about it. But other than that, like obviously, I'm hoping to get two more wins by the end of the year, get that record 9-1. That sounds good to me, and then pave the way for a bright 2023.